Debris cleanup crews cleared the last properties in Siskiyou County.
There hasn't been a mission that I have been on yet that I haven't cried with a homeowner.
The team helping Californians recover from wildfires, plus circular use in the state capitol, how the City of Trees is giving new life to storm debris, and implementation updates on big bottle bill reforms to help California recycle more. CalRecycle's monthly public meeting starts now.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for CalRecycle's April 2023 public meeting. This meeting is for Californians by Californians as we work together to protect our communities and fight climate change. Let's watch a quick reminder before diving in.
El idioma no debe ser una barrera cuando se trata de proteger nuestro aire, nuestra agua y tierra. CalRecycle está transmitiendo simultáneamente esta junta pública en español e inglés. Puede encontrar el enlace en línea en español e inglés en la parte superior de nuestra página web calrecycle.ca.gov. Language shouldn't be a barrier when it comes to protecting our air, water, and land. CalRecycle is simulcasting this meeting in English and Spanish. Click the public meeting banner at the top of calrecycle.ca.gov for a link to our webcasts in both English and Spanish.
For those who are attending this meeting in person today in Byron Share, we are excited to announce that we have Spanish translation devices now available. Let our team on the left-hand side, your left-hand side of the dais know if you need one.
Si asiste a esta junta en persona en Byron Share, tenemos dispositivos de traducción al español disponibles. Informe a nuestro equipo al lado izquierdo del mostrador de presentación ejecutiva si necesita uno. Gracias.
Our first agenda item today is the director's report. Director Rachel Mackey-Wagner joins us to go over some important updates. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, and welcome to all of you who are joining us here in person, and for those of you who are joining us in the simulcast. As you can see, we are back to work, and I feel like every month we add an additional person to the dais in person, which is really exciting for me. CalRecycle is working hard to move us towards our circular economy goals, and as such, I just want to give an update on a few of the things that we're working on. It's a very exciting time. Here we are in April, fully into spring, and many of our programs that were passed in legislation last year are well on their way to being workshopped or regulations developed. On SB 54, CalRecycle will hold an informal SB 54 public workshop on April 25th at 10 a.m. It will focus on covered materials. And so for those of you who have embarked with us on the SB 54 journey, you know that we are doing these workshops and we're breaking down the various pieces of the program and the legislation into what I like to say, digestible parts for each meeting. And so the 25th, next week's workshop will focus on covered materials. There is still time to apply for CalRecycle's appointed SB 54 advisory board. We closed that application period a few weeks ago, but we've extended it to give people more time. We did hear from some stakeholders that there was interest in applying and they hadn't had the opportunity. So we've extended it to Monday, April 24th. So if you are interested, please get those applications in by next Monday. The 16-member board will provide feedback to assist with successful implementation of packaging and plastic food service where producer responsibility law. So for those of you who are again, embarking with us on the SB 54 journey, the advisory board, which will be appointed in June to begin their service in July, end of June, beginning their service in July, will be appointed, and those considerations will happen in the next few weeks. Regarding SB 1383, our organics recycling statutes, our next monthly SB 1383 chat with CalRecycle will happen on April 19th, that's tomorrow, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And this will be focused on local education agencies. Local education, I think, is the intent there. Also, a reminder that applications for the $154 million in new organic grant funding are due by May 2nd, so we have a couple more weeks. Those are the local government grants. Please do get your applications in for our local government representatives who are listening or with us today. Please do get your applications for those grant dollars in. On SB 1013, which is our reform to the beverage container recycling program, CalRecycle is holding a series of beverage container recycling program workshops to implement program reforms, including SB 1013. So as we have several pieces of legislation and budget appropriations and changes that have been made over the last couple of years, we are bringing those together to have a harmonious implementation of those statutory changes. On April 25th, we will be focusing on dealer cooperatives, which is a large component or a small component, depending on how you look at it, of the 1013 reform. So for those of you who are interested in participating in that process, please join us on April 25th. On May 10th, we'll focus on manufacturers and distributor registration as California adds wine and spirits to the program. Again, for those of you who are familiar with beverage container recycling program, this will be a very large expansion of our program and bring in a lot of new material, primarily glass material, into our system. So we are very excited about that expansion and invite you to be a part of that process. We will have more information on these workshops provided by Deputy Director Amy Cameron in a bit. Just so you know, I went through a lot of information on workshops here, and because we have so many moving parts across the department and so many workshops, we want to ensure that stakeholders have easy access to that information. And so thank you to the OPA team and CalRecycle's IT team for creating and posting a new events calendar at the top of our homepage. So for those of you who have a handy-dandy phone or mini computer in your hand, you can go to our website and see that we have a new calendar to keep track of all of the workshops and other events that CalRecycle is hosting and really encouraging your engagement in. So this will be your one-stop shop for staying informed on our meetings and all of the actions that we're taking. Even an added benefit, I didn't know this, you can subscribe to receive calendar updates. So that's a great little tool. I'm very excited about that. Also, very excited to announce today, and you heard at the top of the meeting, we are finishing up with the Siskiyou County cleanup from last fire season. As we all know, wildfires here in California have created devastating impacts on our communities, especially in those communities that are at the wildfire urban interface, or the WUI. And we are very proud of the work that our debris team has done to help the Siskiyou County communities recover very quickly this year, despite the fact that the weather from January, February into March had made those operations very difficult. So thank you to our DEDRO team, who have 100% of the private properties are now cleared of debris, including all of the metal, concrete, ash, contaminated soil. 69% of the properties have been returned to the county for redevelopment. So 69% are ready to go back to having homes and businesses built. And crews have removed 54% of the nearly 6,000 fire-damaged trees that are at risk of falling on public property. As you all know, one of the things that we think about with our community recoveries is the impact on the individual resident. But part of that devastation is thousands upon thousands of trees that we lose every year to those wildfires. They're very difficult to remove. But hopefully with the completion of this in the next couple of weeks, these communities will be able to rebuild their homes and rebuild their communities and recover from the devastation. And as we are talking about debris, I want to introduce our new deputy, Heather. Heather, do you want to say a few words about yourself?
That's okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. Really excited to join the team. Our debris program is one of the premier programs in the country, and I'm really excited to take the helm and start leading us into the next progression of our efforts. So thank you for having me.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. So Heather joined us starting yesterday. It'll be a few days before she gets her sea legs, but we are very excited to have you. And she comes with years, I won't say many, many years, I don't want to age you, but years of experience in both the contracting realm and the local government and federal government realm on debris and emergency services. So we feel so incredibly lucky to have you joining our team. So welcome, welcome. And lastly, that feels like a lot of information, so we'll take a little break and take a look at a short video on the importance of CalRecycle's disaster recovery mission for both survivors and staff.
As wildfires have increased in the last decade, Californians have come together to help each other rebuild their lives.
To be part of the help that comes to get them some semblance of relief, you're forever connected with that.
Since 2007, California's debris cleanup team has helped survivors and their communities recover by clearing toxic fire debris. Those who already know the program understand that the state will clear their property at no out-of-pocket expense.
My wife's mom lost her house back there in the bowls of fire, so good thing to get the, debris removal.
CalRecycle staff take this purpose deeply to heart.
I'm going to tell everyone right now, if your house gets burnt down, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry because I know what it feels like.
And I always like to go out and talk to them and connect with them just to make sure that they understand and know that we're here to help them.
It's very motivating. There hasn't been a mission that I have been on yet that I haven't cried with a homeowner. I haven't stood on their property and listened to their story. But in the end, we know that we're moving them towards the future.
Removing the destroyed remains of their homes, both physically and emotionally, clears the way to rebuild their lives.
Watching the first truck haul away, that it added to that level of closure that was very helpful, so I could rebuild and keep going.
It was a weird sort of finality to it. It was sort of a letting go and just like, all right, this chapter is done.
CalRecycle staff feel this difference they make in the lives of other Californians.
Get to see the joy and excitement when you actually can give them a clear lot that's ready for construction.
I consider it part of my job to listen and to be compassionate. Working at CalRecycle has been phenomenal for me. It's the most rewarding job I've ever had.
In the wake of one of the most devastating losses possible, the care and human connection can help survivors create hope for their future.
They were very professional, but they were very human. And we so appreciated that so much.
Thank you again to the CalRecycle staff and to our state's local and federal partners who help survivors and their communities recover from disaster. As you can see, the staff at CalRecycle take this responsibility very seriously and really connect with those Californians who are devastated by wildfires. And as much as we would prefer to be put out of business, we are very proud of the work that we do to help California communities recover. A quick reminder, CalRecycle appreciates public comment from participants here in person and those of you joining us remotely. We often summarize written comments as appropriate and address like comments together for brevity, as well as ensuring that we have an opportunity to address all of the concerns. We welcome you to join us here at the Cal EPA headquarters if you would like to make your comments in person as opposed to have us summarize or read a portion of those. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Maria.
Okay, thank you. In many communities, damage from recent storms included hundreds of downed trees. Take a look at how Sacramento turned its storm debris into a new resource for residents.
The city of trees lost about 1,000 of them during a series of winter storms. 150 came down in parks alone.
We had enough mulch that was probably equivalent to about 8 to 10 normal-sized homes.
So, what do you do with all of that wood? If landfilled, the 10-home-sized pile of organic waste would break down without oxygen and give off methane, a climate superpollutant with 84 times more heat-trapping power than carbon dioxide. But Sacramento wanted better for its treasure trees.
Residents within the city started reaching out to us and saying, hey, could we have some of this mulch? And that gave us the idea to have a free mulch giveaway.
Neighbors lined up to haul away about 1,000 loads of free mulch during city giveaways.
All the trees that have fallen out here, might as well put them to use.
Packing their trailers, trucks, and even trunks.
We were surprised to be filling up the trunks of Teslas with copious amounts of mulch.
On top of being a natural barrier to keep more water in soil,
I'm using it for my front yard.
Mulch can help control weeds and insulate soil from extreme temperatures.
People enjoyed these trees tremendously when they were standing within our parks, and I think this is a way that the public can continue appreciating the tree.
Using Earth's circular system for organic waste to turn something old into something new to help our communities and protect our planet.
Today, we're announcing nearly $500,000 in cleanup grants to help combat illegal dumping. Deputy Director Zoe Heller joins us now with those awards.
All right, thanks, Maria. So today we're announcing $475,000 in funding for 6 projects as part of our Farm and Ranch Solid Waste Cleanup and Abatement Grant Program. The cleanups and illegal dumping prevention measures will help restore farms, vineyards, orchards, and other agricultural lands throughout the state. You can read more about each cleanup project linked to today's agenda. Since 1997, CalRecycle has awarded over $13 million to help clear more than 1,000 sites of things like tires, appliances, vehicles, construction debris, and other trash. We're also awarding $3 million for projects to boost beverage container recycling and cut litter in 13 cities and counties. The beverage container recycling program's goal to help communities meet the state's 80% beverage container recycling rate. These latest beverage container recycling grant programs will help fund things like water refill stations, CRV recycling bins, education and outreach, and expand bottle and can recycling projects in underserved areas. I approved these awards based on program staff recommendation.
Thank you, Zoe. A minute. CalRecycle is working to implement various legislative reforms to help more Californians recycle more bottles and cans. Deputy Director Amy Cameron joins us with new information about SB 1013, which provides more recycling options for consumers and more recycled glass for manufacturers. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, Maria and everybody. BCRP staff will hold a workshop on May 10th by Zoom, and registration is required. The staff will help beverage manufacturers and distributors who are new to the beverage container recycling program learn about the program, changes with 1013, how to register, due dates, etc. There will be 2 sessions, 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. The sessions will be recorded for future viewing, but again, please register if you're interested in that presentation. Other upcoming workshops and meetings include the Dealer Cooperative Workshop on April 25th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. You may participate in person and virtually via Zoom. On April 27th, we will have a rate determination hearing at 9 a.m., and that will be by Zoom. A QAP glass update meeting for changes associated with SB 1013 is coming. The meeting is happening the first week of May, and we will advertise through our listserv and also email all certified processors who would like to participate. Then a glass market development payment workshop will be taking place the 3rd week of May, and again, we will advertise that on our listserv. AB 179, the governor and the legislature appropriated funds to help increase consumer access and cleaner material streams for beverage containers. The budget included language to increase innovation in the program through reverse vending machines, bag drop, and mobile recycling centers. We intend to distribute the first round of these funds later this calendar year and anticipate having some stakeholder outreach sessions in the summer. Also included in AB 179 is funding to support the goals of the Quality Incentive Program of Cleaner Material Stream. Our intent is to initiate a grant program to increase modern infrastructure for beverage containers and thermoforms. More information will be shared in the coming months. Staff continue to work on a rollout plan for funds to encourage recycling centers and processors in unserved areas. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. And Amy mentioned a number of events herself. So once again, for any events, please look on our homepage. You can find the event section right towards the top. And if you click through to the calendar page, at the bottom of the calendar page, you can click the button to subscribe so that you'll get announcements for all CalRecycle's future events. So as a reminder, you can submit your comments on any of today's agenda items. Here's how you can do it.
California wants your input on recycling and trash pollution issues. Join CalRecycle's decision-making process by submitting a public comment on any of today's agenda items. Microphones are available for those of you in the room. If you're joining remotely, just click the public meeting banner at the top of our website, then click on the public comment portal to send us your feedback. Just visit calrecycle.ca.gov. We'll address public comments at the end of the meeting.
Next on the agenda, California is making it easier for consumers to recycle smart by ensuring products marked recyclable can actually be recycled in our state. Deputy Director Zoe Heller has more.
SB 343 passed in 2021 to promote truth in environmental advertising and prohibit false or misleading recycling claims. While CalRecycle will not determine the recyclability of products or packaging through SB 343, the department is required to gather data through material characterization studies. So CalRecycle has posted a new primary request for proposal for its SB 343 material characterization study on the department's contracts websites. Proposals for this study are due on May 8th. The material characterization study will focus on whether a product type or packaging is collected and processed for recycling at permitted large volume transfer processing facilities in California. Soon, CalRecycle will post a second request for proposal for a separate recyclable material reclamation study. The contracted study will focus on collecting representative information on the final disposition of materials that were recovered for recycling in California. Please contact CalRecycle with any questions about the material characterization study or rulemaking process. You can also subscribe to our SB 343 listserv for the latest information. So next on our agenda is the consideration of CARE's revised carpet stewardship plan. CARE submitted its revised 2023 to 2027 carpet stewardship plan to CalRecycle on March 29, 2023, to address 6 conditions specified in the director's March 6, 2023 request for action. At that time, the plan was conditionally approved. CalRecycle reviewed CARE's revised plan and determined that it met all 6 conditions identified in the March 6th request for action. Statute requires the director to approve or disapprove CARE's revised plan by May 29th, 2023. You can read CalRecycle's full analysis on the public notice linked in this agenda item.
More Californians now have convenient options to safely dispose their medical waste. We have program updates to share with you this morning, but first check out how extended producer responsibility programs are making it safe, easy, and free to manage your pharmaceutical and home-generated sharps waste.
Protecting Californians from accidental needle stick injuries and potential disease. Californians can now get rid of sharps waste, including used needles, lancets, and syringes in a free, easy, and convenient way.
Just place it in and mail it out. It's quick, easy, and at no cost.
Sharps containers are provided when you purchase needles, and can be requested online or via the phone.
By properly disposing of sharps waste, you can protect fellow Californians. Visit CalRecycle's website, calrecycle.ca.gov, for links to information on these industry-run programs.
Deputy Director Zoe Heller has some new information on these stewardship programs.
Today we have 2 items relating to the Pharmaceutical and Sharps Waste Stewardship Program for the Director's consideration. 1 revised annual program budget for home-generated sharps waste and 1 revised annual program budget for covered drugs. The Drug Take-Back Solutions Foundation submitted its annual program budgets to CalRecycle on March 31st, 2022. Between May and October of 2022, they were found incomplete twice, determined complete, and conditionally approved before being disapproved on February 28, 2023, and referred to the Waste Permitting Compliance and Mitigation Division for potential enforcement. The Foundation submitted its revised annual program budgets on March 24, 2023. CalRecycle staff reviewed the Foundation's revised annual budgets and determined they met the conditions identified in CalRecycle's February request for action. The Director will determine whether to approve, disapprove, or conditionally approve the Drug Take-Back Solutions Foundation's revised annual program budgets for home-generated sharps waste and covered drugs by June 22, 2023. You can read staff's analysis on these items and the respective public notices in today's agenda, and please subscribe to CalRecycle's Pharmaceutical and Sharps listserv to receive updates. Next on the agenda, CalRecycle is announcing an approved scope of work for a new contract with the Regents of the University of California to explore innovative new uses for recycled tires. The objective of this research is the development of specifications on the use of small amounts of rubber in dense graded hot mix asphalt and recycled asphalt pavement and rubberized mixes with a special focus on structural layers. Full implementation of these strategies could double the statewide use of crumb rubber and asphalt within 5 years. The contract is anticipated to begin in June and end in May of 25. The funding for this contract, which will not exceed $599,000, will come in the reallocation of unspent tire funds. Switching gears, CalRecycle is required to review and approve or disapprove each countywide or regional agency integrated waste management plan 5-year review report. The counties of Plumas and Kern submitted a 5-year review report for their countywide integrated waste management plans, concluding no revisions to the county's planning documents are necessary at this time. I have approved these items.
Next on the agenda, we have some contract announcements from CalRecycle's Solid Waste Disposal and Co-Disposal Site Cleanup Program. Through CalRecycle Managed Contracts, Grants, and Loans, the program assists with cleanups of illegal dump sites where the responsible party either can't be identified or is unable or unwilling to pay for timely cleanups of sites that threaten public health and safety and the environment. Following a solicitation process based on contractor experience, qualifications, and resources, CalRecycle approved the following contracts. For statewide engineering services, the contract was awarded to Geologic Associates Incorporated. For the environmental services, the Northern California contract was awarded to Engineering Remediation Resources Group Incorporated. The Southern California contract was awarded to Pacific States Environmental Contractors Incorporated. You can find more information on each of these contracts linked into today's agenda. Moving on to our pending solid waste and tire facilities permits and emergency waivers. Paulina Lawrence joins us now with a statewide update on facility permits.
Hello, everyone. First off, I'd like to start with those solid waste facility permit actions that were concurred on since the last monthly meeting. On March 28, 2023, the department concurred on a revised solid waste facilities permit for Vasco Road landfill located at 4001 and Vasco Road. This is in Alameda County. It's a revised solid waste facility, and this also had a revised action date for April 7th, 2023. Continuing on the agenda is Del Norte Regional Recycling and Transfer Station. located at 111 South Del Norte Boulevard. This is in Ventura County. It's a modified solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed was revised to March 8th, 2023. Also continuing on the agenda is Maxwell Transfer Station, located at 3852 Old Highway 99 West. This is in Colusa County. It's a modified solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed May 1st, 2023. Next up is Aerojet Waste Consolidation Unit, located at 12353 White Rock Road in Rancho Cordova. This is in Sacramento County. It's a new solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed May 9th, 2023. Also continuing is San Francisco Solid Waste Transfer and Recycling Center, located at 510 Tunnel Avenue in San Francisco County. This is a revised solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed May 13th, 2023. New to the agenda is Tennyson Pet Cemetery. This facility is located at 3700 Scally Road in Solano County. It's a standardized solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed May 4th, 2023. The preliminary review of the permit package indicates the following proposed changes: update to the owner, name, and enforcement agency approving officer. No other changes are proposed as required by Title 14, Section 18105.9. The operator provided a certification that the information contained in the controlling standardized solid waste facilities permit is current. New and not on the agenda is Turlock Transfer. CalRecycle is the enforcement agency for Stanislaus County, and a public notice was posted for Turlock Transfer that an application for a modified solid waste facilities permit was accepted as complete and correct on March 24th, 2023. Action needed date is 120 days from the date of the application that was accepted as complete and correct on March 24th. This facility is located at 1100 Walnut Road in Stanislaus County. It's a modified solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed July 22nd, 2023. Preliminary review of the application package includes the following changes: addition of organics processing activity, construction of a new transfer processing building, incorporate updated documents that describe and/or restrict the operation of the facility, update of the enforcement agency conditions, and to incorporate the updated transfer processing report. There will be no change in the current permitted area, hours of operations, or maximum tonnage. Next up, I'd like to go over the emergency waivers that the department received since last month. With the recent atmospheric rivers that moved across the state in the last few months, statewide and local emergencies have been proclaimed for several counties. Solid waste facilities have reached out to local enforcement agencies with regards to an emergency waiver of standards for due to these severe winter storms. An emergency waiver of standards may only be issued when there has been a proclamation of a local or state emergency as defined in the regulations. The definitions of a local emergency and state or local emergency is the proclaimed existence of conditions of a disaster or extreme peril to the safety of persons and property. The proclamation must be made by the governor in the case of a state of emergency, or by a governing body such as a county, city and county, or city in the case of a local emergency. The emergency waivers as standards regulations describe a process for the solid waste facility operator to request a waiver of standards, permit terms and/or conditions in order to address changes to handle the debris resulting from a declared emergency. These regulations describe the process for the use of emergency waivers that grant an operator temporary relief from specific standards as imposed by Title 14 or Title 27, or specific terms and/or conditions of a solid waste facilities permit. With that, the department has received several since the last March meeting. First off, I want to start with Los Angeles County. They had granted 4 emergency waivers. They were all granted on March 29th, 2023 for the facilities of Compton Recycling and Transfer Station, East Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station, Bel Art Waste Transfer Station, and American Waste Transfer Station. These were all granted by the LEA to increase storage and time limits from 48 hours to 96 hours until July 27th, 2023. The Los Angeles County Environmental Health, LEA, also granted on March 5th an emergency waiver for American Industrial Services. And this is for permitted daily tonnage and hours of operations until August 5th, 2023. Next up is Orange County. The Orange County Public Health Services Environmental Health Division, LEA, granted an emergency waiver for Prima de Shura landfill on March 27th, and this is to increase the permitted tonnage from 4,000 tons to 6,000 tons per day until June 26th, 2023. Next up is San Bernardino County. The San Bernardino County LEA granted emergency waivers for Heaps Peaks Transfer Station and Big Bear Transfer Station, both on March 27th, 2023. These are for the following: origin of waste, rate of inflow of storage, transfer, processing, or disposal of waste, type and moisture content of solid waste, hours of facility operations, storage time before transfer, processing, or disposal of non-hazardous waste until June 30th, 2023. Nevada County LEA also granted an emergency waiver for the McCourtney Road Transfer Station on March 17th. This is for the removal frequency of recyclable materials from 48 hours to 72 hours until April 16th, 2023. And lastly is the City of San Jose. The City of San Jose LEA granted 2 emergency waivers. One is for Newbie Island Sanitary Landfill on March 25th, 2023. This is for the permitted daily tonnage, hours of operations, and to allow unsorted disaster-related recyclable debris to remain unprocessed for a period not to exceed 7 days until July 23rd, 2023. Next up is the Newbie Island Compost Facility, which was the LEA also granted an emergency waiver on the same day for permitted daily tonnage, hours of operation until July 23rd, 2023. This is to accommodate additional green waste generated from these severe storms. Thank you.
Thanks, Paulina. So that's it for the structured part of our public meeting. You can find more information on any of today's agenda items. Just go to CalRecycle's homepage, calrecycle.ca.gov, and click on the public meeting web banner at the top of our site for a link to the agenda and associated public notices. Now it's time for public comments. First, we'll take public comments from anyone who's a member of the public in the room today. Here in Sacramento. We have 2 microphones, so if you have a comment, please approach the microphones.
So hi, good morning. My name is Eileen Reiner and I come from the Bay Area. I represent TriSed Community Recycling, Union City, California. So I'm here this morning in person because I submitted comments via the public portal last month and they were summarized. And I certainly understand the need to summarize and combine like statements, but I ask that you maybe think of another way that maybe you can accommodate those who are not able to make it here in person. I certainly appreciate and applaud all the efforts that CalRecycle has already made to make these meetings accessible, both languages and also just having it simulcast is nice. I watch it every month. I'm not able to come in person every month, so I do appreciate the efforts that you've gone to already. But I ask maybe if you can think of maybe another way to help those who are further away to have their voices heard, because I have to admit that the comments that I submitted last month, I put a lot of thought into, and to have them summarized down into a couple of sentences without having that personal effect mentioned felt a little bit dismissive. I know that wasn't your intent, but I'm just giving you feedback as to what that felt like on the other end. So that said, I'm here to state what my comments were last month. Thank you. So TriSed Community Recycling is a nonprofit organization. We operate a redemption center as well as being a hauler for a couple of cities in the Bay Area. But operating a redemption center, I don't have to tell you, and probably not very many people in the audience, that we've been hit really hard by the redemption center crisis. As a nonprofit, part of our mission is to provide job opportunities to disadvantaged youth, and we do that primarily through the job opportunities, the work experience offered through our buyback center. These youth make up our crew, assisting customers with their recyclables 5 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday. And we often see, because of the closures of other centers around us, it's not uncommon to have over 300 customers in a day, often over 400 on a Saturday. We recently received a notice of violation with a civil penalty of $1,750. Because of our mission and the nature of our program, we would appreciate a more cooperative and partnership approach to handling these minor incidental violations. There's no intent to fraud here. Because of the nature of our staff, we have a lot of high turnover. They are young people. We do our best to train them, but they make mistakes, as all of us do. And I fully admit that to get to the point in the violation process where we are now, we've had violations in the past, but we've tried to work with CalRecycle over many years, with the person who was in that seat before Amy Cameron, to come up with a more cooperative way. We talked about educational opportunities. We've asked if there could be a way that when these test inspectors come, could they take a moment after noting the violation to just mention to our staff, maybe mention to the lead person even, what happened, what occurred, and who with. Because receiving a violation letter in the mail several weeks later and then trying to backtrack and figure out who was working that day, what happened, and the violation doesn't exactly say what happened. It does cite statute, but it's hard for us to figure out what happened. And so it's hard to teach or train on that. So we've been asking to find a more collaborative way to do it. And I just want to mention some of the challenges that we're facing now with the closure of the redemption centers. So I mentioned before that we have 300, 400 plus customers. Our customers now line up well over an hour before we open. The line goes out our driveway and around the block. And as the weather gets better, people tend to come out, parties, there's more recyclable material. So the long lines and the heat tend to make for very angry customers. So then this creates a very stressful environment for the youth that are already struggling to work fast to get these customers through. The customers are often angry, disrespectful to our youth, partly because they're tired of waiting in line, partly because these are young people, and a lot of the people who come in are vary in age, but some of them are very disrespectful to our younger staff members. And so this makes for a very stressful environment, which may or may not lead to some of the mistakes and the oversights, and trying in an effort to try to get them through faster. They may not be doing exactly what they're doing. So I just wanted to also tell you what is going on at the sites, to kind of maybe help give you a feel for what they're experiencing. So I have other things here, but I'm just going to say, I'm just here to ask for your help. I don't know what can be done. I understand that you're bound by statute, that there are limitations on what you can or cannot do, and I certainly empathize with that. But I just want you to hear us, who are out in this, out at the facilities, having to deal with these customers in these situations every day. Having these penalties levied against us like this is very difficult. Like I said, we're a nonprofit. I understand these fines are capped now at $5,000. We're not going to be able to sustain, continual hits with the $5,000 mark, and I think that we just want to do our job. I know you're doing your job. We want to continue to help our youth be able to gain work experience and then go on and do their jobs. So just maybe more, conversations to start talking about what can be done. I don't know what can be done. I just know that something has to be done. There's not very many of us left. We in Alameda County, we are short 45 recycling centers, I think, based on the last data that I was provided. Our neighboring counties that share a border with us, Santa Clara and Contra Costa County, are even more of a deficit. They have more of a deficit in the number of redemption centers they're required to have. So all around us, there's not very many places that people can go to take their recyclables. Thank you.
Irina, thank you so much for joining us today. And if you wouldn't mind leaving your contact information, would love to talk to you about the experience that you're having. As I'm sure you're aware, and many of our stakeholders who are engaged with this program, the beverage container recycling program is in a time of transition. And I think that the implementation of 1013 will help to alleviate some of the experience that you're having. But we are really I am particularly, and as a department, we're really sensitive to the fact that you are running a nonprofit and that you are primarily there to provide this job training. So would love to offer an opportunity to work directly with your staff. As you know, because this program is so prone to potential fraud, we have to have consistent rules for our inspectors and for violations. But that doesn't mean that there isn't an opportunity for education, and to our primary goal is compliance, is not to be finding violations, but to be finding a way to work with our recycling centers to be in a compliant way. Very sensitive to the fact that you're dealing with so many people, and one of the things that the legislature provided last year was an appropriation for funding for some new technologies to be dispersed to recycling centers and some of our other partners who will be bringing back beverage containers. So would love to talk to you about potential opportunities and whether it makes sense to use some of that funding for, again, primarily our nonprofit recycling centers to help alleviate some of that, the lines around the corners, the 300 people. Maybe also it's an opportunity to work with the companies that are deploying this technology to do some additional job training. So would love to talk to you about a way that maybe we could formulate some of this funding around job training and partnerships that lead to job training. So would love to work with you on that if you are interested. If you wouldn't mind leaving your contact information, and Amy and Mindy and Zoe and I will reach out to you to have a discussion.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
And thank you again for joining us, and appreciate your early comment, and we will work on that.
Good morning. Jordan Wells on behalf of the National Stewardship Action Council. First, we'd like to thank the staff at CalRecycle for their thoughtful analysis and ongoing work to improve California's carpet recycling stewardship program. While it appears that CARE has met all the conditions from the February 10th RFA regarding CARE's revised 2023 to 2027 California Carpet Stewardship Plan, we want to highlight a deeper issue related to the recycling rate calculation for this program and how we and many other stakeholders feel that it misrepresents the percent of carpet being recycled and inflates the program's success. CARE established its own recycling rate methodology for the program, and it has been used since the program's inception. CARE's flawed recycling rate includes a denominator, which is the discards, that is based in part on current day carpet sales. However, carpet is removed and discarded on average 7 years after installation, which is why the carpet sales in this formula should be the sales data from 7 years ago, not from today. Furthermore, carpet sales have decreased dramatically in the last 7 to 10 years. We believe that the recycling rate should be calculated with the amount of carpet being recycled as a percentage of what was sold in the same time frame rather than what is being sold today. Using the 2012 sales data as the baseline, since we weren't able to get access to the 2014 sales data prior to this meeting, the 2021 recycling rate should have been 19.1% rather than the 27.9% that CARE reported. These programs must have the appropriate calculations in order to accurately evaluate effectiveness, and we recommend CalRecycle establish an updated and improved calculation for the carpet program recycling rate as soon as possible. We also think it would be helpful to make the recycling rate calculations amongst comparable stewardship recycling programs similar so that we can effectively compare the program successes. Lastly, we suspect there are a lot of convention carpet being sold into Nevada and Arizona, and that is then shipped into California for use in a number of different convention centers. More work needs to be done to understand how and why this happens and how we can make sure that this carpet is assessed when it gets into our state. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jordan. Really excellent comments. Really appreciate the National Stewardship Action Council's constant engagement. So thank you so much for your comments. Really appreciate it.
Good morning, Nick Lapis with Californians Against Waste. Two unrelated comments. First of all, wanted to support Jordan's comments. I've been wondering why the recycling rate is what it is for the CARE program, and if they're using current year sales data, which I didn't realize, that would definitely explain it with with the decrease in carpet sales. On a complete unrelated topic, I wanted to express my appreciation for you all funding the community composting grant program. I know that was difficult, and I appreciate you prioritizing that. It never gets the attention it needs to, but I think it's going to be critical to the success of 1383. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. I always appreciate your comments at our meetings.
Good morning, Director Wagner and staff. Jeff Donlevy with Ming's Recycling and Ming's Resources in Hayward. I'm here also to speak in support of what Eileen was talking about from TriSed and the inspection process. At the last meeting, my comments also were minimized and just summarized, but we took the time to express, our frustrations and concerns on the inspection process, because the recycling center operators like TriSed and many throughout the area, they do their best effort, but to inspect 19 billion containers a year at 100% accuracy is just an unreasonable expectation. Since that meeting, I've had two recycling centers that I work with. They received a $2,000 and a $2,500 penalty for similar incidents through the random inspection process. And one of those is the second oldest recycling center in Santa Clara. Similar to Ming's in Sacramento, we closed down our operation because of an assault of one of our customers. That recycling center also is in an area that is greatly underserved. I think in the Bay Area, Eileen was referencing that there's one recycling center for approximately every 180,000 people. And on a statewide basis, it's one per 32,000. So the Bay Area is highly underserved, and the recycling center operators face lines every single day, and inspecting the containers results in frustration and confusion, especially with the consumers. And it's basically they're presumed to be committing fraud when they're not. So the inspections are very tough, and to hear the recycling center operators receive these penalties now, they're saying things like, I think I'm done. This is just getting too difficult. It's not worth it. So to hear recycling center operators that have been in the program almost as long as Ming's has before we shut down our operation say that, I think we're done. It's concerning because it's just a snowball effect, because there's people that are desperate for the money. There are people that are working at businesses, bars, restaurants. They need a place to go to. And if one closes, they'll find another one. And then the lines at those facilities will get only longer. So with what Eileen was saying, with the comments that we had last week, we need to work on the inspection process so we're not penalizing recycling centers for incidental, non-material, or unintentional errors. Let's focus on fraud. We're here to help you. Deputy Director Cameron, definitely want to take you up on your opportunity to host workshops with recycling center operators to go over the inspection process. We're happy to host them here in Sacramento. We can host them in Hayward, and we do have people in Fresno and up in Redding that are willing to participate in hosting those workshops whenever you're able to schedule those. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunleavy, for your comments. And as we all know, the beverage container recycling program statute is verbose in terms of the rules and regulations that we all have to follow. But I do think it's an important comment to say that those recycling centers that are trying to actively participate in this program and do so in good faith It isn't an accusation of fraud. It is a violation of the law, and we have an obligation to enforce that law. But we do want recycling centers to be in compliance. It is not our interest or intent to be going violation after violation. And so I think, we had a conversation with you, and I know Amy is working on setting up some workshops. I think maybe part of the issue here is we're all a little out of practice having the recycling centers be closed down for many months during the shutdown in the pandemic, then coming back on board and inspectors going out into the field. So I think this is a good time for us to recalibrate together and go through the rules and regulations and inspections and help with that compliance effort for those recycling centers that want to participate with the department. So thank you for the comment, and we'll be working on that.
Yeah, thank you for the response. And we've been working with different stakeholders, different people that are working on legislation. We've presented language that we're hoping that somebody will incorporate in a bill moving forward. We understand the language says the department shall assess a civil penalty. We've asked to replace the word shall with the word may. And we've had a few people respond that it was too technical of a change. So we like to see CalRecycle get some flexibility and not be forced to administer the civil penalties, especially on unintentional, non-material infractions. So thank you.
Are there any other comments? Oh, yep.
Hello, directors, and Heather, welcome to the team. My name is Evan Edgar for Edgar Associates, and I've been representing Turlock Transfer for 30 years. So I saw Turlock Transfer on the permits today, and 30 years of Turlock Transfer, that's proud of the Marchant family. So every 5 years we do the 5-year permit review. But I want to also compliment CalRecycle for the $4.2 million community grants. When I went to the U.S. Composting Council, what I saw down there in Ontario 2 months ago was community compost have the diversity, inclusion, and equity, and they're the next generation. So there's a lot of new blood we need out there for our circular economy at the local level. You don't see it with a community composter. So really happy that you guys were able to find money for that. Yesterday, this report came out, the 2003 annual report for the cap and trade auction proceeds. And every year it really puts out great metrics. It really puts a good light on CalRecycle. It shows that you're the best value in town. So part of your organic grants, the cost effectiveness is $53 per ton. That's amazing because we're a short-lived climate pollutant. We're mitigating methane. You got great metrics. On the ZEV side of the program, and right now, as part of the $53 a ton, we do RNG. We make our renewable natural gas. We make organic compost. We have a great program. But on the ZEV side of the house, it's about $1,000 a ton because it's not a circular economy. It's a global economy. So keep on funding RNG because we have a home for it to put it right back into the trucks. 2 weeks the next week in this very room, the CARB is going to have advanced clean fleet rule. Basically going to stymie the circular economy. So we have great metrics, good investment. What it also a metric inside of this report is that for every dollar that you put into the grant, it's a 3.8 leverage ratio factor. So it's about 26% of the CapEx. So if I put in $155 million into organic recycling, you're leveraging $600 million. That's amazing, and we're here to do it, the private sector and the public sector. I represent from Kern County Public Works, be up with the grant application, the city of Napa. A lot of public sector folks are stepping up in private dollars for $600 million. Doing the math on it, that will divert about 1.5 million tons of organics by 2025. And what they will do for the 1383 recycling rate will move it from 5% in 2020 to 30% in 2025. So what we need is more issuance of these grants, but we're not going to get it. We realize that 155 million is this year only, and next year is down to 7 million. But that type of investment and commitment by CalRecycle to leverage 3.8 times the grant dollars is amazing. So keep up the good work. Thank you for the grant program for community compost, because they are the next generation to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Evan. Appreciate your comments.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Shira Lane. I'm with Atrium 916. We're a creative innovation center for sustainability. I want to thank you all for all the amazing work that you're doing, but I just want to kind of put us all 35 years in the future. And when we think about this future that we want to see, we already see the end result, which is a complete zero-waste circular economy. But for us to get there, we need to start thinking about building the infrastructure for us to get there. Right now, manufacturers don't have a way to get their product back for reuse. And reuse is like the utmost thing that we want to support to get us to circular economy. We have reverse logistics. Reverse logistics only take us so far. And what that is when you buy something from Amazon, for example, then you send it back because it's not good, it goes back, they decide if it can be resold, fixed, or it will go to a liquidator. But it never goes all the way back to a manufacturer. And so I'm putting this out there kind of like just to think, if we want to build a circular economy, if there was a place that we could really help brands take back their products and really start thinking about it in the sense of a creative reuse facility, where this would be a place that would support local creatives and local people in local communities. This would be a very low-tech solution of organizing, sorting, and hopefully eventually, yes, incorporating AI to help us sort and organize. But I think it's really hard for a lot of brands and companies to kind of think about reuse, because how do they get their products back? So I know this is a big problem to solve, so I'm just putting it out there. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, and thank you for your investment in Sacramento's community and your creative thinking and helping us work towards a brighter future. So thank you for coming. Appreciate you having you.
Hi, I'm Will Lorenzi from Smart Planet Technologies. We're an engineering firm for sustainable packaging in Orange County. I presented last month, but I have a little bit more that I wanted to show that I didn't have last time. So first off, I wanted to just mention there's a study out yesterday. This is actually to applaud the efforts of trying to keep PFAS chemicals out of compostable packaging, which has been a big problem. And California has been leading on that compared to other states. But there was a study yesterday in the Guardian that the next generation toxic PFAS chemicals leach into the food in your compostable packaging more than it did before. So that came out yesterday. So I expect a lot of effort by a lot of states scrambling to try to basically address this problem. And it's great that with AB 1200, that was addressed starting January 1 of this year, that there's no PFAS chemicals in the compostable packaging. So good for us that we were ahead on that one. And but there's going to be a lot of catch up for other places to address that. The next thing I want to mention was when I came last month, I started talking about, and this was related to the issue of the definition of what is recyclable, and a lot of the effort right now is working on the current materials that are available, and they're really, whether the legislation or whatever, it's a harder path for innovation to solve the problem. Innovation is the path that is being used in Australia, and it's getting to the outcomes, I think, in a better way than trying to say, what do we do with the current materials? Because right now, recyclability is defined by what is already getting recycled versus what can we do to change the materials to make them more desirable for the recycling industry. And there's ways to use, mono materials versus complex plastics layers. And so last month, I talked about our company's technology, which is curbside recyclable in Australia, yet I don't have a curbside recyclable mark in California as a California company. And I showed for food service packaging that's paper-based, that in Australia, we're making gift wrap and copy paper out of it, whereas the current materials, at best, anyone's ever used it for is for tissue, otherwise it just goes to the landfill. So it's a much better, and it's profitable, and it's a great circular economy. So I brought a roll of the gift wrap, and I think our message from what our company is solving can sound a little bit too good to be true, because SB 54 is a big problem regarding this packaging and what do we do. And this is a simpler pathway just to basically support the innovation. So one of the things I want to demonstrate, you can't send it by mail or in a presentation, but A lot of people wonder, like, why aren't these paper products recyclable? So I just want to demonstrate for a moment. This is a, if you take away the paper and you say, why isn't a paper cup recyclable? It's actually a plastic bag inside of paper. So if you really take away the fibers, you wind up with plastic bags that go into a pulper. And it takes very little, less than 1% of the material going in will foul the entire system. So that's 100% plastic coating. And that's the definition of right now to say that something's recyclable is that there's no plastic whatsoever. There is no package like a paper cup that can do that. Just an example of what our technology is. This is our technology, and I'll use actually our cup on United Airlines, because right now United Airlines uses all of our stuff. But if you tear it, it's not like a plastic bag. It tears like paper. And that, it works just as well as a barrier, but it works like paper. It does have a little bit of plastic in it, but the goal of is not to be plastic free in it. The goal is to basically enhance recycling. And so we've come up with a very, very creative solution. However, right now the definition of recyclability is must contain no plastic, or it's a material that's already out there. So we're in the catch-22 where we can't move forward. So I wanted to just demonstrate. I brought samples of the United Airlines cup that we currently have, and then also, the typical standard cup, which would be a Starbucks cup or anything else, and how thick this plastic layer is and why. But people often wonder, we talk about all the recyclability, but then actually to see it, when you take away the paper fibers, you can really see why some products are not and some products are. So I wanted to just at least demonstrate. I'll just put the samples over there. People can go over and see them if they want. And then you can just take a look, and it becomes very, very visible and apparent once you see the fibers taken away why this has been such a challenge. So I'd like to try to work on that recyclability definition so that we can get to the outcomes we're getting in Australia, but get it here. I understand the intent. We want to make sure that people aren't making claims that are theoretical. But, and I brought the, I want to just basically do a quick summary of why it is. And one of the things is that paper recycling systems are very good at removing paper clips, staples, clay coatings, minerals that are added into the paper, all sorts of things. It's very, very good and designed to do. What it's not designed to do is handle plastic at all. That's its big problem. So, so our technology here, just showing how innovation can solve this, is can you make a clay coating that's also a barrier coating? Because the system is really good at managing clay coatings, but it's terrible at managing plastic. So can you have enough plastic that makes the packaging industry happy, but then when it's in the pulping system, it works just like a clay coating, which means everybody's happy and it works just as if there's no coating at all. And that's what we've designed. And we have, I know it sounded too good to be true when I came up and presented last week, but that's what we have. And I have the certifications here and the testing results. The testing results come from the recycling industry themselves. This is their tests that say what is recyclable and what we want, the materials we want. And they have categorized this as a clay coating, not a plastic coating, for the purposes of recycling. So I have all the certifications for that. And therefore, in the definition, I'm looking for potentially is the ask is that basically is when the recycling industry is saying we don't consider this coating a problem, and we consider it a clay coating, which means it's fully processable. I would like CalRecycle standards for recyclability to match what the recycling industry's own standards are for this, because they're the ones who are going to have to receive these materials, and what they're saying in these tests is, we want these materials, but I can't get there if the law says is it has to be already getting recycled to do so. So I wanted to just add some more color to the conversation from last month.
I appreciate that so much. And as we get into the conversation around the definition under Senate Bill 54 that goes into plastic packaging, I think this is very much part of the conversation about how do we move the industries forward that are dealing with packaging. And you've given us a lot. Last month, Zoe and I went back and Mindy to talk about this more. Obviously within the constraints of the law, this is a very challenging question as a regulator to figure out how to answer, but I think you've given us a lot to think about. And really our guiding principle is innovation, but innovating to a circular economy, not innovating for the sake of innovation, but you are very much working in that space. So we would like to continue those conversations and really appreciate you bringing.
Yeah.
I'm a visual learner, so the samples are super helpful.
Yeah, I'll
but-
put them out there. Yeah, it's good to see, and it wouldn't, if I sent a video or if I sent it as in a document with photos, it just doesn't do it.
It doesn't do the same
No,
thing.
you
Yes.
get to see it in person, just actually see the difference between the two. But then everyone goes, aha, I get it. Now I know why all these materials that are all this paper packaging isn't recyclable. How could it possibly go through the system like this? So I wanted to bring samples of it to show that as well. So, and I have a meeting with Zoe later today, so I'm
Great.
really looking forward to that. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity for next steps.
Excellent. We appreciate the collaboration. Thank
Yeah,
you for
thank
being
you.
here.
Thanks.
Thanks. Are there any other comments in the room? Okay, if not, we will go to our public comments that have been submitted online, and our Chief Deputy Director, Mindy McIntyre, will read those.
Hi, everyone. Okay, first comment comes from Martin Orzoko, and he explains that he's no longer able to obtain beverages for his crews due to the local supplier being in jeopardy of being fined because they don't have a place for recycling containers, and asking for what solutions are available to this problem.
Thank you, Martin, for participating in today's meeting. Dealers may choose not to sell CRV-covered beverages. This is a business decision made by the owner of the establishment. However, should any retailer want to work with CalRecycle staff to find a recycling center operator that may want to locate in the area, they may reach out to the Division of Recycling at 916-324-8598 or visit our website for assistance. I will email you this information. Thank you.
Next comment comes from Valerie Lake from One Earth Recycling, and is discussing the dealer workshops and asking if there are any operational constraints that will be program requirements, or I should say, if there are operational constraints that will be program requirements. For example, will convenience zones or other conditions be a factor of how the cooperatives operate? She actually has another comment, sorry, a follow-up comment that I will address as well. Are the recycling innovation grants limited to vending machines, bag drop, and mobile redemption solutions, or will other recycling solutions be considered?
Well, thank you for the questions and the comments. On the dealer cooperative regulations, that is an open conversation with stakeholders that we have started and continue to have. And so we would welcome you to join us as part of the dealer cooperative workshops. But at this juncture, what the constraints and what the requirements are going to be are part of the development of those regulations. And so that is a part of that conversation and ongoing conversation. In the context of the funding for innovation, I don't know what other technologies you would be considering. The main three that we have heard in terms of technology and innovation within beverage container collection and recycling are reverse vending machines, bag drop, and mobile recycling. If there were additional ideas, we would love to hear those. I don't think that the language in the budget had those three constraints on them, but that rather those are the three areas that were emphasized by the legislature, and that would be our emphasis, is to utilize technologies that have had some testing here in California, but would welcome the conversation about other opportunities. The funding will not be used was not directed in the context of continuing operations as they were, but rather was with the specificity of innovations within the system.
The next comment comes from Keith Bauer from Eastern Impressions, who is a CARE member. The comment is quite long and makes allegations against CARE regarding the way they investigate violations and their funding. Again, this comment will be posted for everyone to see. It is quite lengthy and again includes allegations.
Zoe, do you want to say anything about, or do we just want to post the comment?
Yeah, our team will review, but for now, thank you for your comment. And if there's any follow-up needed, we can address that.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Appreciate that.
Next comment is anonymous and asks if CARE met all of their goals and recycling rate for 2022. And it notes that they seem to have made significant progress and the plan should be approved.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. And just to clarify, the plan that we received is separate and distinct from progress. We will receive CARE's annual report, I believe, in September. And at that time, we'll review their annual report and determine whether or not they've met all statutory, regulatory, and plan requirements from their previous plan. Thank you.
Next comment is from Wes Nelson from Green Waste Carpet Recycling, noting the parts of CARE's plan that met the requirements and requesting that CARE's plan be approved.
Thank you for your comment, Wes.
Next comment is from Alessandro Makiv, and asking whether or not we can provide a website that would allow for finding recycling centers for metal cans, not beer cans, but soup cans and other such metal cans.
That is interesting. We are working on updating our website to identify beverage container recycling locations. But soup cans, which are not a part of the beverage container recycling program, would be done through, I think, aluminum still. I'm looking at Jeff up there with Ming's. It's still aluminum recycling. Any scrap metal recycler would do that. So we will look into it and appreciate the comment and the question on ways that you can locate other recycling sources. One resource that we do have at CalRecycle is iRecycleSmart.com. We'll link you to your local government, which will tell you how to recycle the various materials that you have, because every local government collects and recycles differently. So that might be a good place to start, but we will look at ways that we can augment that. Again, that's more on the local level, but we'll see what we can do. Thanks for the comment.
Next comment is from Gwen Tucker, a student at Scripps College in Claremont, who has spent the last semester volunteering with Community Garden Project in Southern California and Inland Empire. The comment notes several benefits of community composting and is comparing them to the benefits of industrial composting and requesting that we fully fund the community compost program across California.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. We're continuing to work with Department of Finance to finalize the solution and anticipate moving forward with that award process very soon.
Another comment received from Marin Plut from no organization listed, also outlining the benefits of community composting and as opposed to the benefits of industrial composting, and requesting that we fully fund the program. And Marin did include a lot of dialogue, very lengthy comment, and it will be submitted. Our staff will review it, and we will also post it. Next comment is from River Rafferty, also without an affiliation, discussing the community compost initiatives rather than putting the funds towards industrial composting, and again, recommends dedicating funding to community composting instead of industrial composting. Next question is from John, no last name and no organization submitted, asking for an update on the organics recovery law and is the state objectives being met, and what is the current recovery rate versus the state goal?
Yeah, John, thank you for that question. It's a good one and one we get often. And there's a couple of different ways in which we measure progress. Our waste characterization studies are one. Our last two were in 2018 and 2021. And overall, we did see a reduction of organic waste going to landfill. Those exact numbers are on our website and are helpful to see overall. And just a quick caveat on those numbers is that organic waste is defined differently throughout our different statutes. So I encourage you, when you look at the waste characterization information, to keep that in mind. That paper is called out separately from other organic waste. We have other data that is interesting that shows some of the progress that's being made statewide. A couple of numbers that demonstrate this progress is that 613 cities, counties, and special districts with waste management services have compliance requirements under 1383. What that generally means is that there's an enforceable ordinance in place, organic collection in place, those sorts of things. So we're seeing significant progress across the board. 139 jurisdictions have approved waivers in place. So those are rural, low population, or high elevation. So those exempt those areas from some of the requirements of 1383. One really exciting stat that we found recently is that 445 jurisdictions self-report now having residential food waste collection in place. So understanding these aren't the exact numbers you're asking for, I think what these show is that we are seeing progress statewide. We're really excited about our 2024 waste characterization, which will be the numbers that we use to determine where we are with achieving our 75% diversion, the statutory goals or statutory requirements of 1383. The other thing that I'll quickly mention is you've heard a lot of conversation today about funding. We have $154 million grant solicitation out for composting, anaerobic digestion, co-digestion at wastewater treatment facilities. We're hoping that funding really helps us build out some of that capacity that's needed to be successful with 1383. And in the coming months, we'll be announcing the plan for the remaining local assistance funding that's on the table to help support jurisdictions achieve the 1383 goals. So that's a lengthy answer that gives you a lot of different points as to how we're making progress towards 1383. Thanks for your question.
And that concludes the public comments.
Thanks so much. And just I just also want to let everyone know that our staff and leadership do review all comments that are submitted to CalRecycle. So thanks to everyone who participated in today's public meeting. You can find the videos from today's meeting posted on our YouTube page. By the end of the day tomorrow, the public meeting video will also be on the YouTube page by the end of the week. We have to do a lengthy process where we make sure that everything has captions. And then also, as we work to make our communications as accessible and inclusive as possible, we welcome your feedback, which you can do through CalRecycle's public comment portal. Have a great rest of your morning and week. We will see you next month. Thanks.